The date, April 18th, 2016. The time, too early for a Monday. The subject, the Solid Signal Podcast. You know, my friends, I had a tough time deciding on what I was going to talk about this week on the Solid Signal Podcast because it seems like there's just a lot of news going on. And I encourage you to read the Solid Signal blog, blog.solidsignal.com, to find out some of the other stuff that I'm talking about, because there's some in-depth analysis out there, some articles that I'm particularly proud of. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy writing everything, but sometimes I come up with something that really kind of works for me, and there's some good stuff there. I encourage you to look for it. So with some of the heavier duty work done over at the Solid Signal blog, I thought that I'd deep dive into a subject I hadn't really talked about in a while in the Solid Signal podcast, and that's getting good Wi-Fi coverage in your home. This is something that a lot of us don't think about, and especially because we all now pretty much have data plans which are generous enough that the occasional drop to cellular data isn't going to hurt us. But if you really think about it, getting good Wi-Fi in your home is a great way to save money, to keep your cellular plan relatively small, and make sure that you're getting higher speed than you would normally be getting out of LTE. Because Wi-Fi is almost always going to be better than LTE unless your Wi-Fi signal is really weak, and I want to talk about that. You know, not everybody has a choice of where they put their wireless router. As a matter of fact, most of us don't. In some cases, you put the wireless router where you thought you were going to be back in the early 2000s, and in other cases, you just put it wherever the cable company or whoever's providing your internet said they want to put it. Sometimes that's behind a television, which is just about flat out the dumbest place to put a wireless router, since the television is going to block a lot of that signal. So you're going to find that a lot of homes have problems with Wi-Fi, dead spots in them. That's perfectly normal. You're just not going to put the router in the middle of the home. I mean, nobody does it. Nobody hangs it from the ceiling, which is probably going to be the best way of getting signal everywhere. So what do? There are a number of options when it comes to extending your wireless signal. I personally like the access points from Open Mesh and from Ubiquiti because they're super powerful, and they're going to blanket your home with enough Wi-Fi that you probably won't need more than one of them in your average size home, and you can put them on the ceiling quite easily just by running a simple cable, just one, not two, through the ceiling, feeding it through, and you're going to get the great signal that you really deserve. There are less expensive alternatives to Wi-Fi extenders, which essentially create a second wireless network that kind of piggybacks onto the first one. A lot of these are inexpensive enough and easy enough to set up. They just hang on to an outlet and you don't really even think about them. But either way, what you're going to have is a great wireless signal that makes it easier for you to do what you really do on your phone, which is surf the web in one way or another. Go to social media sites, play games, read Facebook, whatever it is. You're doing it through the internet. And before we get any further, I want to point out that eventually we'll all have 802.11 AC, which is the hottest new technology in routers, which has, in fact, more range than some of the older technologies, if it's done properly anyway. And eventually, I say that most likely these sort of solutions just aren't going to be needed. But that's tomorrow. What do you do today? Today, what you do is you try to get the best Wi-Fi signal that you possibly can, and you can do that. It's easy to do. You can do it yourself. Practically no installation required. And what I'd urge you to do is go look at the Wi-Fi products over at solidsignal.com. If you're going to be listening to this using the YouTube link, I'm going to pop up a link, poing, right there, that is going to take you straight to the Wi-Fi extender pages on solidsignal.com. But even if you're listening on MP3 or something like that, just search Wi-Fi at solidsignal.com. It's super easy. And you're going to find a whole bunch of products in a bunch of different price ranges. You might ask yourself, why would I want to pay $300 when I can pay $30? But that's because, honestly, you get what you pay for. Don't get me wrong, it's perfectly okay if you need a $40 solution and you get a $40 solution. But of course, if you're trying to create a large mesh network, which is a fancy term for a bunch of different access points that all share the same network name and they're managed from a single point, you're going to want to pay a little bit more. You're going to want to pay a little bit more for that high level of reliability and the ability to handle multiple chunks of data at the same time efficiently and effectively. And so that's the bottom line, is really you've got choices there. You can pay for as much or as little as you want. I personally use a wireless access point to cover my own home, and I got to tell you, there's a night and day difference. I get HD Netflix in every room of the house without a problem. I very rarely drop down to LTE, which means that I can use a very small data plan considering the kind of person that I am. And the installation experience was incredibly satisfying because, yes, I do like a challenge, but sometimes I just want it to be easy, and installing this wireless access point was about as easy as it got. Folks, take a look at that stuff. Wi-Fi access points, Wi-Fi extenders at solidsignal.com. Until then, have a great week. I look forward to speaking to you again next week.